The jungle hummed with life, thick vines hanging like curtains between the trees, veiling secrets of a world long forgotten. Elara stepped carefully over twisted roots and soft moss, the blade of her machete still slick from the dew she cut through. Her backpack hung heavy on her shoulders, stuffed with scavenged solar cells, circuit shards, and anything that looked like it might still hum with power. She was 13, maybe 14. No one in the settlement kept track too well after the floods came. She paused as the forest shifted around her, the birds falling quiet. That silence wasn't natural. Something lay ahead. Her boots crunched softly against the undergrowth until they didn't. Before her, the trees gave way to a wide crater choked with foliage. In the middle, swallowed halfway into the earth and wrapped in vines like a sleeping god, lay a ship. Not a plane, not an escape pod, but a ship, angular and strange. Its metal hull stained orange with rust and something older. Its nose was buried in the dirt. Wings cracked, cockpit tilted slightly toward the sky. Alara's breath caught. No one had seen tech like this. Not even the salvagers from the high cliffs. She crept forward, each step deliberate. Ferns brushed her knees, and the warm stink of damp earth clung to her clothes. The ship was dead silent. No beeping systems, no pulsing lights. Just a thick hush of abandonment. She reached out and placed her hand on the scorched hull, warm from the sun. Solid. Curiosity pushed her to the cockpit window, clouded with grime and streaked by rain. She wiped at it with her sleeve and froze. Inside sat a figure, slumped forward, hands still gripping control levers. But it wasn't flesh and bone anymore. A skeleton stared back at her from behind a cracked visor. It wore a suit of armor-like material, now brittle and darkened with age, and its skull tilted slightly as if watching her approach. Elara stumbled back, her heart hammering against her ribs. A corpse, a real one. Not the husks they talked about from the war zones, not the bones washed up in coastal sinkholes. This one hadn't been buried or hidden. It had waited. She steadied her breath, heart slowing but not calm. Something about the stillness invited her. This wasn't a grave. It was a message left open. The side panel of the ship had caved in, jagged but passable. Elara hesitated only a moment before slipping inside. The air smelled of mold, scorched wires, and metal long turned to dust. Lights blinked faintly. Somewhere, a flicker of power still lived. She climbed carefully toward the cockpit, past seats torn loose and debris sealed in time. Reaching the pilot, she noticed a faint blue glimmer along the edge of the suit's collar. A symbol pulsed once, then dimmed. She touched the controls, and the ship stirred. A sharp click sounded behind her. She spun around, pulse spiking, but it was just a panel sliding open. A dull voice broke the silence, filtered and broken, echoing through unseen speakers. Life form detected, biometric match. Partial. Sequence initiated. Elara stepped back as a light blinked to life above the pilot's seat. A small screen fuzzed into motion. Static. Then an image. The pilot alive. Not a skeleton. Not yet. Human eyes, dark and rimmed with exhaustion. His voice crackled. If you're seeing this, then I didn't make it. He laughed once, hoarse and weak. Ship ID Vera 9. Mission date 4132 AD. Earth entry. Catastrophic failure. A cough interrupted him. I've locked the escape engine. It detached before impact. If anyone's alive to find this, the core has the key to everything. The screen went black. A moment later, the same message repeated, grainier this time. Elara's mind spun. 4132. She couldn't wrap her head around that. The settlement still used the old calendar sometimes, barely held together with guesses. But that number meant the ship had crashed more than 1,000 years ago. 1391. She thought suddenly, remembering a story one of the teachers had told about a star rider who vanished in fire. She reached toward the pilot again. The suit wasn't entirely sealed anymore. The chest panel bore a strange emblem, 2 overlapping circles flanked by stars. Her fingers brushed the edge of it, and the symbol lit up again. Another screen lit, this time in front of her. A map, glitched, flickering. A faint blinking that hovered far to the south, deeper in the jungle's untouched heart. Ilara? Her name. Whispered. She jerked back. No one was there. But the ship hummed once, like it had breathed in. Then silence again. The cockpit lights dimmed. The skeleton pilot remained still, his message spent, his story bleeding into hers. Ilara turned slowly. She stepped out of the ship, into the light of the clearing. Her legs felt shaky but grounded. Whatever the escape engine was, it hadn't made it far. Or maybe it had, and now called out to be found. She looked once more at the fallen vessel. The girl, the ghost of a pilot, and the jungle watched each other in mutual silence. Then she walked away, the leaves closing behind her. She would return, not just with tools, but with questions that needed answers. The storm rolled in by mid-afternoon, staining the jungle sky with dark bruises and whispering threats in the treetops. Ilara had taken shelter beneath a stone overhang, her back pressed against cool rock, eyes locked on the datapad she pried from wreckage. It was an ancient thing, thicker than anything modern, heavy with rusted ports and chipped metal casing, but it still pulsed with fragments of power. The screen stuttered, glitched, then steadied as lines of strange script crawled across it. She tapped the icon shaped like the twin circle emblem she'd seen on the pilot's chest plate. A low hum buzzed in her fingertips. A face appeared. The same man from the cockpit. Younger here. His features drawn but clearer. His voice came through this time. Not live, but stitched together from memory. This is Commander Howard Dent. Designation, Flight Captain Vera 9. If you're receiving this, then either the recovery teams failed or they never came. Ilara leaned closer, rain ticking against the rock overhead. The man's eyes were sharp, calculating, but tired in a way that reached across centuries. Our mission, he continued, wasn't just exploration. We carried Earth's last viable tech core, the escape engine, meant to seed knowledge, restructure broken systems, even terraform, a safeguard, a restart. But something went wrong during descent. The screen flashed briefly, an image of the Vera 9 spiraling through thick clouds, systems failing, heat blooming across its wings. I initiated core separation just before impact. I thought it would reach the fallback point, but the jungle swallowed everything. The message paused. Ilara watched as Howard blinked slowly, as though struggling to maintain his composure even in the recording. I survived the crash, he said, voice lower, but only barely. I tried to locate the engine. Days blurred. Weeks. I couldn't leave the cockpit too long. Injuries. Fever. I started logging everything I remembered into the AI system, in case someone ever found this. Ilara's hand clenched. This was a real story, raw, unsanitized, not the recycled legends the elders share by firelight. Howard leaned closer to the camera. The escape engine, it's not just data. It's aware. It learns. Protects itself. It may have buried itself to avoid capture. If it's still functioning, it could change everything. But it needs a human interface. The screen cut to static for a breath, then resumed with a quieter tone. I don't know who you are, he said, but if you found me, you're probably like I was. Alone, looking for answers, maybe hoping there's still something left worth saving. A long pause. Then, I'm sorry I couldn't finish what I started. The message ended. Ilara sat frozen for a moment, as the storm rumbled its approval overhead. Her fingers hovered over the screen, reluctant to shut it off. She didn't know this man, this Howard Dent, but his voice had lit something in her chest. A connection not of time, but of purpose. She closed the device, sliding it carefully into her pack. The blinking marker on the map still flickered faintly. South, always south. The next morning she returned to the ship, not for more parts, not for salvage, but to understand. The cockpit was just as she'd left it, the pilot's bones folded in eternal silence. But now, with Howard's voice echoing in her memory, the space felt less like a tomb and more like a monument. She sat across from him on the floor, her back against the interior wall. You tried, she said aloud. I'll try too. The AI's voice buzzed to life, softer now, as if recognizing her growing intent. User identity updated. Memory tree unlocked. A new set of logs played, this time more fragmented. Halrick's voice again, fainter, recorded from inside the ship's failing systems. "Illyra," he said once mid-ramble. Then again, "Illyra." She froze. Her name, but it couldn't be her. There was no way, unless the AI clarified without prompting. Recorded name variant, Illyra Marin, daughter of mission engineer Tessa Marin, presumed casualty of Earth phase exodus. Common DNA markers, 49% match to current user. Illyra's throat went dry. That's not possible. But the ship didn't lie. And deep down, something inside her had always ached for explanation. Her mother had been found wandering near the shore as a child, half mad, speaking of stars and light. The village called her sunstruck. They didn't speak of what she might have been before. Illyra closed her eyes. She wasn't just some orphan with a knack for machines. Her blood carried starlight. That night, she didn't sleep. Her dreams were full of fractured images. A city in orbit, her mother's face glowing with reflected stars, a ship spiraling in fire. When she woke, the datapad was clutched in her arms like a lifeline. The escape engine wasn't just a machine. It was part of a plan she had unknowingly inherited. And it was calling. She stood at the edge of the clearing, staring into the jungle's depth. South. The map's beacon was faint but steady, pulsing like a heartbeat she now felt in her own chest. It wouldn't be easy. The terrain would fight her. The world would hide what it had swallowed. But she couldn't turn back. Behind her, the wrecked Vera 9 sat like a rusted sentinel, the skeleton pilot still watching from his seat. She didn't say goodbye. There would be time for that later. Illyra adjusted her pack, tightened the strap across her chest, and stepped into the undergrowth. The jungle closed behind her, and the real journey began. The jungle deepened, shifting from vibrant greens to an almost oppressive density where sunlight struggled to filter through. Illyra moved with caution now, every step deliberate, every sound underfoot a potential warning. Insects buzzed in invisible clouds, and unseen creatures rustled in the canopy above. Her map, still flickering with static, guided her only vaguely. The signal from the escape engine was growing stronger, but the terrain grew less forgiving. By the fourth day, her water was nearly gone, her legs ached with fatigue, and the humidity had turned her clothes into a second skin. But the thought of turning back never crossed her mind. She wasn't alone out here. Not anymore. Not with the knowledge Halrick had left behind. Not with her mother's name tied to something so much larger than the settlement had ever imagined. At dusk, she stumbled upon a clearing smaller than the one where she'd found the wreck. In its center stood a structure, metal but not rusted. It rose from the ground like a shrine, half buried, almost consumed by vines but unmistakably intact. Unlike the Vera 9, this wasn't built to travel. It had landed or grown into the jungle, like a seed planted in fertile soil. Illyra approached slowly, heart thudding. The datapad blinked frantically now, indicating proximity. She reached out to the surface, cool, smooth, humming with latent energy. As her fingers brushed it, the vines recoiled on their own, slithering back like they'd been commanded. A circular panel slid open at her touch, revealing a passage down, dimly lit by soft white light. A whisper of air drifted upward. Cool, sterile, not a jungle. She hesitated, then descended. The tunnel was narrow but clean, made of the same polished alloy as the structure's surface. Her footsteps echoed faintly, and the lights followed her like watchful eyes. At the base, the corridor opened into a chamber. No dust, no overgrowth. A perfect sphere of a room, with a single device at its center, a pillar wrapped in cables and geometric engravings, pulsing with slow, deliberate rhythm. This was it, the escape engine. It looked almost alive, like it breathed, slow and patient. Screens shimmered to life as she approached, lines of data flowing too fast to comprehend. Then the light stilled, and a voice emerged. Com, genderless. User identified. Lineage confirmed. Command access granted. Illyra swallowed hard. Are you aware? I am functional, it replied, fully integrated, awaiting directive. She circled the engine, examining the intricate construction. You were meant to rebuild the world. Correct. My design includes planetary analysis, environmental correction protocols, and socio-technical data synthesis for civilization recovery. Why didn't you activate when the ship crashed? I required a human interface. The primary pilot was injured. No connection could be established. Core preservation protocol initiated. Dormancy ensued. The realization settled in slowly. Halric had survived long enough to eject the engine, but not long enough to bond with it. It had waited, buried, silent. Until her. What can you do now? The engine pulsed. Dependent on directive. Full activation will alter regional ecology, initiate energy grid recovery, and restore technological infrastructure. However, risks include ecological destabilization and socio-political impact on existing populations. Ilera stepped back, absorbing the weight of that. This wasn't just a tool. It was a keystone. One command could change everything, for better or worse. I don't even know what's out there, she murmured. The settlements, the coastlines. What if this hurts people? Do you wish to initiate a recon protocol? It asked. I could deploy environmental scans and simulate effects. Yes, she said, almost whispering. The engine responded instantly. A holographic projection spread across the chamber. Maps, terrain overlays, atmospheric scans. Dozens of data points shimmered in the air around her. The world beyond her small village wasn't just broken. It was scattered, bleeding into chaos. Islands of survivors clung to ancient myths and broken systems. Some had rediscovered fragments of old tech. Others had become hostile to anything born of the stars. Her chest tightened. Rebuilding meant uniting or threatening these fragments. And who was she to decide for them? Then she saw something unexpected in the scan. Movement. A group, not far from the engine site. No more than a day's travel. Not animals. People, heavily armed, moving in formation. She froze. Who are they? The engine answered, cold and precise. Unregistered faction. Heat signatures indicate recent use of advanced tracking equipment. High probability. Pursuing this location. Why? Unknown. Possible detection of activation signal. She backed away. Her heart pounded now. Not from all but alarm. Can you hide yourself again? Not fully. Energy signature now traceable. They will arrive within 36 hours. Ilera looked at the engine, at the swirling lights and calm voice, and made a choice. Shut down external signal. Power down all non-essential systems. Go dark. Acknowledged. The lights dimmed to a faint throb, barely visible. The projection vanished. The engine stood silent once more, waiting. She turned and ran. Her feet pounded the metallic floor, then the forest path, branches slapping her arms as she surged into the green. She didn't know what the faction wanted, but she knew what they would find if they reached the engine. A chance to control something meant to restore. A relic they could twist for power. That couldn't happen. She camped in a low ravine that night, hidden beneath a canopy of ferns. Sleep came only in fragments. Images of the soldiers, the escape engine's pulse, her mother's face, half remembered, and the message from Halric. A restart, he'd said. A safeguard, but not at any cost. At dawn, she set out again, not south this time, but east, toward the group. Not to fight, not yet, but to learn, to understand what they knew, what they wanted, and whether they could be stopped. The escape engine wasn't safe anymore, but maybe she could still be its guardian. The sun was still low when Ilera reached the edge of their camp. She crouched in the undergrowth, her breath slow, body still. The group had moved fast, faster than she'd expected, but they were sloppy. Too much noise, too much fire. Their tents were set in a ring around a central fire pit, the smoke curling into the pale sky. 7 people, maybe 8. All armored in mismatched gear, some old-world tech fused with scavenged pieces. She spotted power rifles, rusted drones, even a scanner like the one in the ship. They were better equipped than anything she'd seen. But something about them felt wrong, off balance, like they were acting on borrowed purpose. She watched as 2 of them argued over a signal readout. A woman with a red optic implant barked orders, while the others sifted through jungle soil, clearly trying to trace something. The signal from the engine, Ilara guessed. Even dormant, it had left a trail. She shifted her weight, careful not to disturb the brush. She couldn't fight them. Not all of them. But she didn't have to. Not yet. As she turned to slip away, a voice broke the morning quiet. "You can come out now. We saw your trail an hour ago." Ilara froze. Slowly, she rose from the foliage, hands where they could see. The woman with the implant stepped forward, flanked by two others, one aiming a rifle directly at her chest. "You're the one from the wreck, aren't you?" the woman asked. Her voice was smooth, cold, and absolutely sure of itself. Ilara didn't respond. "You touched the engine. We read the spike." "How do you know what it is?" she asked carefully. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Because we've been looking for a long time." She stepped closer, studying Ilara with something between curiosity and disdain. "You're young and alone. That's either very brave or very stupid." "I didn't activate it," Ilara said. "It's dark again." "That won't matter. The moment you linked, it bonded to your biosignature. It'll only answer to you now." The revelation chilled her. She hadn't meant for that, hadn't even known it was possible. But it explained the voice, the responsiveness, the way the system had called her by name. The connection wasn't technical. It was personal. The woman motioned to her team. "Bring her." Carefully. Ilara didn't resist. Not now. She needed to know what they knew, why they were here, who had sent them. She needed time to think. They bound her wrists loosely, more formality than threat, and led her back into the camp. The woman sat across from her by the fire as the others milled about, adjusting gear, preparing for a march. "We call ourselves the Scion Directive," she said. "Not that names mean much anymore, but our mission does. The escape engine wasn't just a failsafe. It was a weapon." Ilara shook her head. "That's not true." The woman shrugged. "Truth's a matter of perspective. The engine holds data. Terraforming, yes. Restoration, sure. But also access. Keys to orbital archives, defense protocols, tech hidden before the fall. Enough power to reshape what's left of the world. Or rule it." Ilara's chest tightened. Halric Dent said it was meant to save. Maybe, but that was 1,400 years ago. The world's changed. You've seen what's left. These people. She gestured broadly. They don't need saving. They need control. Order. You mean control by you. The woman's expression hardened. Someone has to. A silence passed. Fire crackled. Somewhere in the distance, a bird called once and went silent. Then Ilara said, "Won't listen to you. You said it yourself. That's why we need you." The words dropped like a stone between them. "You'll take us to it. Reactivate it. Help us access what it knows." "No," Ilara said simply. The woman didn't flinch. "You're thinking in terms of choice. That's adorable. But this isn't about what you want. We'll find the engine either way. We just hope we don't have to break you first." Ilara stared into the fire, heart racing. She'd seen what power did to people in the settlements. The way hoarded solar panels turned into influence. The way water control meant life or death. But this was something worse. They didn't want to rebuild. They wanted to rewrite. That night, she waited until the camp settled. The guards grew lax. Fires died to embers. When the moment came, she moved, silent, efficient. Her bindings had never been tight, and the shadows welcomed her. She stole a blade, a flare, a datapad, anything she could use. And then she ran. Branches toward her skin, but she didn't stop. Her breath came in gasps, legs burning. She didn't need the map anymore. She felt where the engine waited, like it was part of her now. By the time she reached the chamber again, the stars were slipping behind clouds. She slammed her hand against the panel. The engine stirred. "Awake!" she gasped. "Now!" The lights brightened, pulsing with recognition. Confirmed. Command protocol initiated. "They're coming," she said. "They'll take you. Twist you. I won't let them." "What is your directive?" the engine asked. She paused, trembling. Then she spoke clearly. "Lock down. Final defense mode. Access only through my voice. No one else. Ever. Confirmed. DNA-locked interface engaged. Defense grid enabled. A low hum grew and the walls shimmered faintly, an energy field rising like a breath held tight. Ilara sank to the floor, exhausted. She bought time. That was all. But time was enough, for now. She leaned back, watching the lights dance across the engine's surface. And she whispered, "You waited for me? I'll protect you. I promise." Outside, thunder rumbled again, far off but certain. The world was changing. And this time, she would choose how.